This is another question from Seeking the Truth. Looking at Exodus 23:15, it is talking of the new moon, not the stage of the barley. I cannot find any scripture that he is telling us this is the month barley is ripe, this is the first month, or that barley indicates the first month for you. Okay, so this is a very, very dangerous thing to take a isolated sound bite and try to understand it as a standalone. The best way to understand scripture, for instance, in our case, is to look up this term when it's first used in Exodus 9:31, Aviv, and follow this all the way through scripture. Read every passage where this term is used. If you will do that, you will gain much greater understanding. As we saw in the previous questions about why people are obsessed with barley, we see that Exodus 9:31 says the barley, this is the noun, this is the describer, Aviv. This is the only place that barley is used with a noun to tell it what it is associated to. Aviv is associated to barley. And then he tells us when he talks about the first month of the year, and by the way, this was already the first month of the year when Aviv is talked about in Exodus 9:31. There's another question on that in this series this year. So when it talks about the lamb, it's talking about the first thing in our year after the new moon, the first thing that we're going to observe from Elohim, or for Elohim, or to Elohim, because it's his feasts. We are serving and obeying him. And that's the lambs. He says, this is the beginning of your months. It is the first month of the year to you. And then in Exodus 13, he tells about the firstborn animals and men that belong to him. They are him. They are holy unto him. Then he speaks about unleavened. And when we get to Exodus 13:4, he tells us this month with the lambs and with the unleavened bread and with the firstborn animals is the month that you came out in the month of the Aviv. The Aviv is the condition of the barley. So now when we look at Exodus 13:15, which come at a later time in the book of Exodus, but still is in the book of Exodus, and we've looked back to understand what Elohim is saying, that there is a beginning of months, there's the first of the year, and it's the day we came out in the month of the Aviv, and Aviv belongs to barley, then we know that Exodus 13:15 is talking about the month or the moon in the appointed time of the month of, again, this is strong, King James, it took the away from the, because if you look in Hebrew, it's there. The time when thou come out in the appointed, the moed of the month Aviv. So if we will not take isolated sound bites, if we will not use standalone scriptures without understanding, at least in context, and then greater even if we understand every place this word is used in the scripture, we get a much different picture than just saying Exodus 3:15 isn't about the barley. If we open up all the verses about Aviv, we see that it very much is about Aviv barley.